Welcome to the Lesson 5 Fireside Chat. Lesson 5 is Memory. This is also Chapter 8 in your OpenStax textbook. Our goals for this chapter are to talk about how memory works, what the basic three-store model of memory is. This is considered the modern or standard view of memory. And then based on that understanding to talk about problems with your memory and why they may occur. Finally, we'll explore a variety of ways to enhance your memory by taking advantage of this understanding of the standard model of memory. So the first thing to realize with memory is that memory is often likened to a computer and how a computer works. This is sometimes referred to as the information processing view of cognition. So basically you have input, storage, and processing and output. So encoding, storage, and retrieval are key processes involved in the formation of a memory and the use of that memory information later on. So Lesson 5 will talk about each of those steps in turn. We'll also spend a lot of time talking about the three-store or standard model of memory. This is also referred to as the Atkinson-Shiffrin model of memory. In this view, there are three separate storehouses that do various processing with information and then shuttle that information around back and forth. You can see in figure 8.4 from your textbook how these three stores interrelate with one another. First, there's the actual experience of the information. Then there's actually a buffer called the sensory memory. And this is where that information goes for just a half second or so while your brain processes the information in an initial way. Next up is your short-term memory. This is the part of memory that you also know of as your consciousness. This is where you do a lot of your thinking and your processing and your rehearsal, and depending on what you do here, you will determine a lot of the quality of that memory and how it gets stored in long-term memory. So you can see the interactive nature of those three stores, and this will serve as the basis for our modern understanding of how memory works. When we take a look at long-term memory, we'll see that there's a variety of different ways or strategies of storing memories in our brain. Explicit and implicit memory are the two big branches for long-term memory. The easiest way to think of the difference there is explicit memory or declarative memory are memories that can oftentimes be put in terms of words, so you can actually declare that knowledge using words. Implicit memories often do not use words and are harder to actually place into words. Classic example here is, how would you describe to somebody how you ride a bicycle? Notice how there's not really words for that, but you certainly know how to do it, and that is an example of implicit memory. Once we've explored the standard model of memory and talked about how information is shuttled back and forth among those three different storehouses, we can then turn to understanding why we have various problems with our memory. What is forgetting after all? Is there something called amnesia? Is there interference from new learning or old learning? We'll talk about all of these things in turn. Finally, we'll talk about a new and emerging understanding of memory, and that is that memory is a highly reconstructive process. That is, it's not that we just press play on a memory and it comes back exactly as it was experienced, but that the process of remembering itself often ends up changing the memory. So we'll talk about eyewitness misidentification and its relation to courts and police proceedings. And we'll also talk about flashbulb memories and something called the misinformation effect. You'll get to explore Elizabeth Loftus' work, which is absolutely seminal in this area. Again, the whole idea here in the modern view is that memory is a highly reconstructive process, and that we should at least be a little skeptical on the accuracy of our memories. Finally, we'll talk about a positive aspect of memory in our positive thinking corner as we reflect back and encourage you to create a gratitude journal, which should lead to positive outcomes. We hope you enjoy this discussion of memory.